Action games on Switch 1 were fun, but Switch 2 makes them feel truly alive. Some games that struggled with frame rate now run at a steady 60, visuals pop sharper, and loading times are much shorter. High on Life is a quirky first-person shooter that throws you into a bizarre, vibrant universe full of talking guns, outrageous humor, and over-the-top action. Switch 1 runs the game at 30 frames per second, which works, but hectic combat or large environmental sequences can cause noticeable frame dips and softer visuals. The Switch 2 patch upgrades the experience, delivering a stable 60 frames per second, sharper textures, smoother animations, and faster loading, making combat more responsive and exploration more fluid. Every blast, dodge, and interaction feels snappier, and the chaotic humor lands even better with the improved performance.
Me there. I think I got caught up in the moment or something, but hey, good work, team. Let's go get 9 Torg.
Any last words, 5 Torg?
Is that 9 Torg talking?
Fuck off! I've always said you were the worst Torg! You know, 7 Torg said the same thing, right before I killed her.
Weird thing, because it's like, yes, it's an improvement, but
ARk Survival Evolved drops you into a brutal prehistoric sandbox. You're stranded, you're slow, you're surrounded by dinosaurs. You must tame, build, survive. On Switch 1, it supplied all the content. Massive maps, crafting, base building, dinosaur taming. But the tech struggled, lower resolution, frame rate dips, pop-in of terrain, and creatures. Now on Switch 2, the game takes a leap. The recent update for the ARk Ultimate Survivor Edition on Switch 2 brings smoother gameplay, higher resolution, better shadows, and anti-aliasing, and generally a more stable experience.
Good on any platform. It really genuinely does not. Like, this is a game that, you know, it really does not run good on any platform, which is kind of funny. And I always joke about that because it's a good kind of laugh, because you're always like, oh, you know, ARk, and everybody laughs. It's like, oh, did the update improve things? And it's like, kinda, but like, you know, the game is.
Trials of Mana is a vibrant action RPG that throws you into a colorful world full of memorable characters, real-time combat, and strategic party mechanics. On Switch 1, the game runs at 30 frames per second, and while the visuals are charming, there are occasional frame dips in larger battles, and loading times can feel a bit slow. On Switch 2, the game takes a big step up. It hits a smooth 60 frames per second, textures look sharper, and transitions between areas are much faster, making combat feel more fluid and responsive. All the story, character interactions, and skill-based battles remain the same, but the upgraded hardware makes exploring dungeons, fighting bosses, and switching between party members feel more seamless. No Man's Sky starts as this massive exploration adventure, but the big difference really shows when you compare how it runs on Switch 1 versus Switch 2. On the Switch 1, the game had to lean on lower resolutions, shorter draw distances, and longer loading times, with the performance dipping during fast flying or busy planetary areas. On Switch 2, the whole experience feels way more polished. Visuals are cleaner thanks to higher resolution upscaling, the lighting and textures look sharper, loading times are much quicker, and the frame rate is noticeably more stable whether you're cruising through space or landing on a new planet.
Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, you can freely create your own vehicles and weapons.
The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom invites you to explore Hyrule in ways you've never imagined, with towering landscapes, hidden secrets, and inventive puzzles around every corner. On Switch 1, the game runs at 30 frames per second, which works fine for casual exploration, but frame drops can happen during hectic battles or when multiple physics events collide, making some moments feel a bit off. On Switch 2, the game truly shines. It holds a stable 60 frames per second with smoother movement, faster loading, and crisper visuals, so every climb, glide, and fight feels effortless. The freedom to experiment and uncover secrets is fully enhanced, and the upgraded hardware turns the massive world of Hyrule into a more polished, seamless, and responsive adventure.
For example, when gifting a sword or some meat, you can create a QR code. Then another player can receive it in their game via Zelda notes.
My child, your parents' time draws to an end.
Yonder the
Still-
Cloudcatcher Chronicles is a peaceful exploration-first adventure, but on Switch 1 it runs with clear technical limits, using a docked resolution that often sits between 720p and 1080p, a handheld resolution that can dip below 720p, and heavy anti-aliasing that softens the whole image, while the frame rate generally targets 30 frames per second and regularly fluctuates during saving, world streaming, or busy scenes. On Switch 2, the stronger GPU, higher memory bandwidth, and modern upscaling tech let the game hold a noticeably sharper image in both modes and push for a much smoother 60 frames per second experience with far fewer dips, making traversal, exploration, and farming feel cleaner and more responsive.
Embrace your destiny, for you are the one who can remove this curse from our home.
Ion Fury is a fast-paced, retro-style first-person shooter that throws you into chaotic levels packed with enemies, secrets, and over-the-top weapons. On Switch 1, the game runs at 30 frames per second, and while it captures that classic 90s build engine feel, it struggles with resolution, texture pop-in, and dips in performance during bigger combat arenas. On Switch 2, the experience is a lot smoother, hitting a stable 60 frames per second with cleaner visuals and faster loading times, letting you blast through levels without distractions. All the explosive combat, secret hunting, and level design from the original is intact, but the upgraded hardware makes movement, aiming, and overall gameplay feel more responsive and fluid.
Let us begin.
Tales in the Sky first chapter invites you into a colorful JRPG world full of exploration, airship adventures, and story-driven quests, where every character interaction, dungeon crawl, and skybound journey builds the sense of a living, breathing world. Switch 1 runs the game at 30 frames per second, and while the charm and depth of the story remain, larger battles, crowded towns, or multiple effects on screen can cause noticeable slowdowns, and loading between areas can feel sluggish, which sometimes interrupts the flow of exploration or combat. Switch 2 completely transforms the experience, delivering a stable 60 frames per second, crisper visuals, and much faster transitions between locations, so every battle feels smoother. Spell animations pop more vividly, and traveling across islands or through dungeons is seamless.
Sit! What a way to start the new year. At this rate, I'll be dead by Easter.
Quiet
Deadly
down,
Premonition 2 places you in a surreal open world with complex environments, NPC interactions, and physics-driven sequences that demand stable performance. The Switch 1 version runs at a target of 30 frames per second, but in practice it frequently dips below 25 in outdoor areas during vehicle sections or when multiple AI characters are active, and draw distances are limited with noticeable pop-in on objects and textures. The Switch 2 upgrade delivers a much more consistent 60 frames per second, improved texture filtering, higher resolution assets, and faster streaming of world data, which reduces pop-in and load times.
And no red, remember?
It's open. Come on in.
Wavetale opens with you surfing across a flooded archipelago, gliding over waves, swinging between rooftops, and uncovering the mysteries of a sea-scarred world. On Switch 1, the game delivers its gorgeous cel-shaded art, charming soundtrack, and adventurous movement, but it's held back by some technical limitations. Frame rate drops during larger encounters, some slower loading, and occasional texture or pop-in issues. The visuals are still lovely, but the fluidity of traversal and overall responsiveness feel a little compromised. Now imagine this same experience on Switch 2. Smoother frame rate, crisper visuals, reduced load times, and improved stability mean that surfing, gliding, and exploring feel much more seamless.
Okay everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you liked that video, please leave a like and subscribe, and ring the bell if you want to get notified when we release new content. We hope to see you in the next video.